Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the Leadership Doctors, Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL Resilience Framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REAL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out. The Leadership Doctors alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water succinctly, creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in the Leadership Doctors to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 134 of the REALL Academy, brought to you by the Leadership Doctors, HERS. I am Dr. Sheka Houston, and we are the home of the Resilience Framework. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka. I am Dr. Tammy Taylor, and we would like to say welcome to everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Good morning, REALL Academy family.
Good morning. Let me see who we have joining us with us. Dr. Roz, thank you for joining us. Melissa Jones Chunu, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Miss Dot McKeever Jeter, thank you for joining us. And Miss Truesdale out of Atlanta, thank you for joining us. And I'm pretty sure, oh, and my mom is here. Good morning, Mom.
Hey, Miss
Sep-
Beverly.
September, Devon Vance Daniels, good morning. Thank you all for joining us. And I know that people are still transitioning over from the great episode that Principal Hurt had this morning. And shout out to him. He was on fire as usual.
Always.
Yes, talking about those things that we need to make sure we are doing as far as great decisions in education for our teachers and our leaders. And a lot of that fits into what we're going to be talking about today as well. So every week we ask for you to drop in the comments how you have been keeping it real this week. So if you would put that in the comments, several of you put a lot of great things in the comments last week about things that you're great initiatives that you're doing at your school. So keep up the great work and keep letting us know how you are keeping it real. We like to use this framework because we didn't want to just create a catchy phrase. Real is actually rooted in research-based practices, and it's those practices of Ron Edmond that came up with specific correlates that he found to refute the 1966 Coleman report. And in that report, it stated that African American students would not or could not perform at the same rate as their white counterparts. And we know that that was rooted in racism. So, what he found were schools that were performing, majority African American, and also majority poverty that were having great results. And from those schools, he developed what he called correlates that were things that were in common with all of those schools. And what we've done with our framework, we have embedded those correlates within the framework.
Yeah, our framework actually connects the effective school correlates research and puts it into terminology that easily allows a leader to organize every task of the school around those principles. It allows for teachers to be able to easily organize the tasks that they have for their classrooms around those principles. And it also helps students to be able to organize themselves around those same principles. So the principles, as Shika said, are those things that make schools and the practices that they have within those schools effective and yield results. So what we've done is we made that um, into our framework a way for folks to easily be able to see how that connection works.
That's exactly right. And so ultimately, with the framework, what you have is a school that is speaking the same language, um, with proven principles for success, for resilience and success. So we have posters that go along with that for your hallways, the what we call the gear, or our students call the drip. That fits right into your PBIS system for making your school ultimate place for you to be able to transform your culture, or to make it one that is conducive for success that the students and the teachers could easily buy into. So shout out to all of our schools that are already working with us. And if this is something that you would like for your school or just like to talk about, just let us know. So that brings us to our topic for today. And I don't know if Josh is on with us, but we put that it was inspired by Josh Tovar because episode 134 is Technology Can Enhance Education. Stop renting your movies at Blockbuster, which is what Josh says frequently. Um, and we want to do this to be able to make things better for everyone in education. So, like we do every week, we will go through our framework in speaking about this. And so, that first, the door of our framework is respect. We have to respect the fact that teachers' plates are full. Principal Hurt was just talking about some of our novice principals who come in and are placed at some of the most difficult schools, schools that are in turnaround, which is not a wise decision for anyone who's at the district level. If you want to make wise decisions, that's not a good one because so much is involved in the school improvement process. And the reason why districts are making those decisions, Principal Hurd, is because a lot of them have not led schools that they've had to turn around. They have no idea what goes into that process. So they just think that when a school is not performing, oh, well, it's the principal's fault. They're not doing something right. And you have no idea what has to happen with a school that has to be turned around. So that's how those poor decisions are made by district level leadership a lot of times because they don't know.
You know
So,
what it made me think about though, Shika?
mhm.
When we started in our positions as principals, it made me think about sometimes the reason why, and I think Principal Hurt is spot on. Like you as the district, you have to
Mhm.
be able to be ready to forecast. Like you've got to see where the schools are headed as
Mhm.
you are placing leadership into those situations, because unless the school is already in turnaround, schools don't just go into turnaround in the 1 year or 2 years that a new person is there. This is something that you could have seen coming along the way. And if you aren't paying attention, then you can't make good assignments. So I'm just saying, I was just sitting there thinking, hmm,
Exactly. And if you think you're paying attention and you don't know, then you're not paying attention to the right things. And if you don't know, you need our help. Just
you better
call
ask
us.
somebody.
We'll help you. Principal Hurt will help you because we all know. But respect, we've got to respect where people are. I feel like in leadership, one of my roles was to protect my teachers. A lot of times things are shoved down, and I work at the district level now, so I hear when people say things like, oh, let the teachers do it. I cringe because the teachers are already doing too much. Oh, let the principals do it. I cringe again because the principals are already doing too much. We've got to respect the fact that everyone's plates are full. So before you come up with something new, if you haven't thought of a way to make it done better for people, or take something away, or have people do things more efficiently with technology, you should not be coming to anybody with anything. So that is the whole point of this session for today, is telling people how we can do that in education. It starts with first respecting and knowing where people are, like Tammy talked about, having that wherewithal to even consider what people are doing, what's on their plates.
What you facing?
Mhm. So the next part of our framework is excellence, and we want excellence to happen at every level, for our teachers in the classroom, for our students, for our leaders. And there are certain tools that you can use that are artificially intelligence based. And I know that there's controversy around this, where some people feel like, oh, if we're teaching the students to use AI, it's cheating. And that just tells me that you really have not done a lot of research and you don't know. So there's a lot of tools, apps that can really help the teacher's job go a lot more efficient for themselves. One of them is Education Copilot. It's almost like having an assistant for the teacher in the classroom, and there's a 30-day free trial. So these are things that you can have your teachers to just try out. Tell me what you think about it. Get not something that you're pushing off on them to say, hey, this is going to make your life better. And in reality, you're making it worse because you're giving them anxiety about something that they don't want to try. But what you do is, when you pilot things in your building with certain people who are, more apt to want to try new things, when they start to see other people's lives becoming a little bit easier, that might make them more apt to do it. So usually starting off with things with the pilot is a low risk way to have people do some research. But this talks about AI generated templates for lesson plans, writing prompts, student reports, outlining projects for students, just making things easier for the teacher. And I think one of the biggest conceptions around AI, about it being cheating, is that we are not factoring in the human component to artificial intelligence. We're not suggesting that you take something from a chat robot that they've spewed out and just use it. The human factor is that you take what it spews out, you go through it and say, oh, I could use this part. This would be helpful. I need to tweak this part. This part doesn't match the standard. So the human component is still there. You're just shooting it out quicker than it would have been through your own human capacity to be able to do it, because we're not robots. So, it creates that efficiency.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the pilot. because as you were saying before, some of the best things I've done started through a pilot.
Right, and I think
Mhm.
it's a really low risk way, for people to try
Try it.
things out
Mhm.
without, like I said, giving them any anxiety about it.
Mhm.
So the next thing that we saw was something called Hello History. This is another artificial intelligent app or AI app. And what this does is allow students to be able to have lifelike conversations with historical figures. Some of the people that it mentioned was Cleopatra, Buddha, Einstein, and I did go look to see if Cleopatra was presented in her correct ethnicity because we do want real experiences for children, and she was. And so, when we're thinking about history, and I'm thinking about specifically our EOC U.S. history scores in our district, which they're not high, because a lot of times it's lecture based. And what we know from our generational studies work is that children don't want to hear people talk all day. They just don't. And I'm going to be honest, as an adult, I don't either. It's not interesting. So, what this does is takes your content and allows them some choice into who they want to hear it from. Same thing, same concepts, but they're getting it in a different way. It even has it to where it will text their phone. So we know how much our students are on YouTube and they're also on the phone. So if they're getting it in the way that they're operating anyway, win win. So, it just creates another way for people, for teachers to be able to get the content out and make it interesting for students. I think this one is free. Oh, the limited version is free. So there are upgrades that are, more costly, but again, have the teachers try it out, have the students try it out, let them tell you what they think about it. Hearing their voice is important as well.
Yeah, and I think I'll make sure I share that with my fifth grade team who are currently working on their projects for the living wax museums, that they can actually allow the kids to select one of those historical figures and do some chatting with them just to see like what that would yield towards the research that they've already been doing. So I think it's I can't wait to hear if they find it useful or not.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the pilots yield as well because I think again it just, a new way to look at something for students. And I think the more that we meet them where in the spaces that they enjoy, we're
Mhm.
doing them a better service.
Definitely.
So the next part of our framework is accountability. And when we're talking about accountability, we definitely want people to be accountable for the things that they're doing. And a lot of times that involves questioning. And we know how important questioning is for teachers. And when you're talking about increasing rigor in the classroom, a lot of times we don't see the transfer of knowledge from our assessments that are classroom based or school based to state based assessments is because the level of rigor does not match and our students are not prepared for the level of rigor. So, what is required is that teachers really take time to sit down and make sure that they have the proper level of questioning in their content. And this can't be something that is just done off the hip when people are being observed and you just start spouting off questions. There's tools for us to know whether or not this is a level 1 question, a level 2, or a level 3. And usually the ones that you just spout off from the hip are those very low level questions many times. So question well is something that helps generate questions for the teacher. And again, that human component has to be added so that the teacher goes back and says, well, these questions are level 1, these are level 2, and these are level 3. And Tammy, you just did a PD with your teachers on questioning, and the
Yeah.
importance of questioning.
We did not, I did it with the induction staff. I'm doing it with my folks next month, but it was very powerful to see the reactions of the teachers when you are talking with them about the intentionality of having questions that are pre-planned. And I'm not saying that people don't create a question or two when they're creating lesson plans, but they usually are thinking when they're creating those types of questions, like with some sort of assessment formally. But
Hmm.
just to see their expressions when I was sharing with them how important it is to make sure that this is something that is a part of the teaching process, because it helps students to be able to think at higher levels, and that higher order thinking leads to them being able to problem solve and evaluate and create. And those are those things that are of course, when you start talking about level 4, level 3, assessing them. So it was very interesting to see the dynamics. And I think it is powerful for us as administrators to make sure that teachers understand the significance of coming up with higher order thinking questions in their day to day, so that when they get to those assessments that you mentioned before, those EOCEPs and the end of year state assessments, benchmark assessments, they are not, they don't have to shy away from those type questions, because those are the kinds of questions that we've been using during instruction in the classroom. So anything I think that can help us with making sure that we are generating questions that make our students think deeply is something worth exploring.
Most definitely. And the other part of accountability, I know that people have different opinions about lesson plans and whether or not to require them. I led a school that was a school of promise, and we were in school improvement. I could not allow for there not to be any lesson plans and for there not to be a checkup on what lessons were being presented, and whether or not the standards and different things were where they need it to be. So sometimes people will say they're requiring lesson plans, but teachers know that they never receive any feedback for them. And so that doesn't lend itself to good practices. So we found a company that we use that allowed that lesson planning feedback to really make our jobs as the leaders a lot more efficient. And we'll put a form if you're interested in that company in later, to for you to get that information. But the next part is literacy, and there are companies. One that we've just spoke to as recent as yesterday, that are making using AI to help the students learn how to read better. And so what it does, it uses AI to hear the students read, and it takes their reading and prescribes for the teacher whether or not they're having a problem with phonics, phonemic awareness, whether vocabulary is the issue. It breaks the words down for the students. And it also prescribes a playlist, which I thought was powerful for students to take that knowledge of where they need help and do something with it on their own, as well as at home with parents. I think at the secondary level, because teachers are not trained to teach children how to read, this is a struggle, but this is where this software
Mhm.
would come in really handy. So if this is something that you're interested in, there's a form that's been placed in the comments, and we will pass your information on to that company, because I was just really impressed with that being able to happen. And we know that 97% of students can be taught to read. We're not doing a great job with that, according to our NAEP scores.
It's very good to know too, because at the lower levels in the primary grades, I think up to grade 3, you can
Hmm.
get that kind of diagnostic information too from the students being able to read into the microphone through map reading fluency.
Hmm. Exactly. And see, we don't have access to map reading fluency at the secondary level.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I think you can purchase it, but I don't think we have. So I thought this was a great way for this to help teachers. But I love that playlist for the
Yeah,
students and the parents. And
definitely.
so the last part, leadership, it's our jobs to make things more efficient for people in our building. It is our jobs to protect the people's plates that are in our building as well as your own. You have to advocate for your school, for your students, and for yourself. You do that professionally. We're not asking you to lose your jobs because I promise you, Tammy and I don't have anywhere to house you. But you advocate
I
professionally.
can hire you though. Let's say if you want to come to work, you can come on down to Great Falls Elementary.
Yeah, so the housing, you'll be on your own for that. But, it's our jobs to make things more efficient and to do this research. So we hope that our research is something that has helped you today to look at things differently where AI is concerned. And lastly, we wanted to make sure that you all knew that the Real Academy will be coming to Roku, Fam TV. If you have not downloaded that on your Roku channel, please do that. FamTVPlus.com. You can look that up, and we'll be loading episodes there soon. You may be able to see your comments there as well. Tammy and I will also be speaking at the OSG Transformational Leadership Conference, March the 22nd through the 23rd. And the progenitor of this conference is going to be on with Principal Kafele next. So you'll get to hear what that is all about. And special thanks to everyone that showed up to Bill My Sister, our virtual event. It was a fantastic event. People are still emailing, texting, saying how wonderful it was. So we are just very appreciative to everyone that joined us.
Thank you very much.
So we've summed this up with our framework. Again, we've shown you ways that this could connect to every level of your school, from the leader, teacher, students. And if you need help with anything that we've talked about, just make sure that you contact us and share this information. Don't forget to fill out that form if you're interested in those that literacy platform, and the one where you can help yourself out with lesson plan checking as the leader. So this has been the Real Academy. We hope that you all have a great rest of your Saturday. Join Principal Kafele next on his platform. Back on Sundays, Josh and Dean and Chris on Unlock the Middle. And then on Saturdays, right back here, starting with Principal Hurt at 10 o'clock, Create and Educate at 10:30. Have a great rest of your Saturday, guys.
Guys, enjoy your day.